Hey everybody, BTO Pro here, and I hope you're ready for a show. So, have you seen previous stuff I've been rambling about? I am working on a fork of this project called Relevance, specifically in one of their generators. So, they have this generator, Relevant, which is, it's a Red Hat project. I've kind of taken it to the extreme, and so is my colleague Michael Potter. So we've started to refactor and say, like, what would it take to actually just have a single command that would spit out all of the work that's being done in that repository. As far as there's a lot of awesome tooling optimizations and everything else. So we started working on something called wcfactory or Web Component Factory. So I laid out a little bit of what the vision and the goals and the features of this would be. But effectively, I don't want to learn anymore. And I don't care about the new cool web component-based library that's coming out. I want to be able to adopt it, and I want to use an agnostic tooling. I want this to just be the way which we can compose and manage and support our web component library, regardless of which library we actually use. In that case, I meant like our company's library or project's library. So let's look quickly at what the Relevance repo nets you as far as structure. So imagine you ran a CLI and this stamped out. I'm skipping that step heavily. I also haven't tested that part. Michael Potter is working on that side of it. So imagine you ran a command and out the end of the yeoman, it produced this initial boilerplate that had some elements in it. So then you would manage your elements through elements. What you're getting is this has Learn It baked in, it has Storybook baked in, which we need to repair the functionality of. And it also uses Yeoman generator within, which I mentioned in that other generator. So if I go to the generator here, okay, it basically, we're trying to say, hey, this is your web component. We want to create a boilerplate that works across any library and gives you a unified way of developing those web components, no matter what library you picked. Because the beautiful thing from my research in this is we're all pretty darn similar. And so I'm going to prove it to you. So before I show you the UI, I'll show you that the CLI rather. The CLI supports these 6 types natively at the moment. So we've got a vanilla HTML element, we've got lit element, we've got polymer element, Relevant, which is from their original repo, Slim, and Skate.js. And I have boiled this entire build routine down to 2 files. So one is a Yeoman generator templated file that has effectively, hey, this is going to be a lit element. And so here's a standard convention for copyright information. We're going to build our, whatever the custom class is off of. It's got some stuff to make the tooling work built in. And then we kind of have stamped out where things will go. Then in package.json, we say, hey, the custom element class is going to be lit element. There's this little, everybody has their own kind of render function that's slightly different, but effectively the exact same. So what's that partial look like? So this is called render. If you want to look at a vanilla element, it's called getHTML. If you want to look at a polymer element, it's static get template return HTML. If you want to look at a relevant, it's getHTML because it's vanilla. If you want to look at skate, it's render return HTML. Do you see what I'm doing right here? This is an overwhelming amount of information for any one person to understand, but it's all boiled down to these package JSONs, even down to, does this support property binding? So did you want to know what property binding looks like in Slim? Well, it's got prefix and suffixes that look like that. In Skate plus lit HTML, it looks like that. It's not supported in native. In Polymer, it looks like that for one way, and in lit element, if I go to the right thing, it looks like this again because it's using lit HTML. From there, we say, okay, where is the main file to look for? And then define your scripts, define your dependencies, and define your dev dependencies. And so effectively, if you want to support new classes in here now, you could go into the WCF libraries and you could copy and paste one of these in parallel. And then you could modify these 2 things to make sense, and you should be done. And so let's see what the you should be done is. So I'm in that repo. I do npm run new. It's going to take those package JSONs, smash them together, and give me these options. So if I go and delete one of those, I won't have it in here. We'd like to support as many of these out of the box as possible, but you know, if you want to add your own, cool. If you don't like our definition, cool. So let's see. Let's go with a skate.js plus lit HTML elements. So what's the name of this? Skate on by. Sure. Purpose, just to demo this thing. The author is BTO Pro. I work at Penn State. This is going to be Apache 2. I don't want to use Sass. I do want to use custom properties in it. And I do want it auto-binded to something called hacks, which we're not going to go into, but if you go to hackstheweb.org, you can see what I'm talking about there. Plus, this is worth noting here, all three of these options are flags in our package.json. So if you don't want to be constantly badgered about, using Sass, or you think that my idea for wiring up every design asset to a WYSIWYG automatically is stupid, well then just set those flags to false and you won't see those. So add a new property, sure. All right, title, and my title is going to be stuff. And I don't want to make it available for CSS styling. I don't want to notice changing properties. Those are not, so those two settings are not fully implemented across every platform. They work currently in Polymer, and I think they partially work in Lit, but I haven't really invested a lot of energy in that part yet. So the idea, cows, sure, like it's a number of cows that we're going to have. Default value is 54. And we're not going to notice that one. And so we'll just set those two. We'll say no. And then a whole ridiculous amount of magic is going on. So we're going to watch it do its thing here. I'm going to go into elements, and what did I call that? I call that skate on by. Well, thank goodness I named it something differently. So it's going to start building me this skate element right now. And there is so much going on right now that it would, it's going to take a while to probably illustrate what's happening with these files. So let's just look at a little bit of what the end product is here. And then while it's building, I'll get to it. So you can see it automatically authored these. It has created a SRC folder in there. It has automatically written how to wire this up to the Hacks headless authoring system because I said, hey, do it. There's my property definitions with all that information I put in, abstracted. If I want to work on CSS, I can do that in its own file. If I want to work on HTML, it's put that in its own file, and it's used that data binding as a template to say, hey, this is how you get access to those two variables. And then when I go into skate on by, it's loaded that template, correctly put in place the right imports for this to work, and then it has started to use all of that language. There's skate on by, which is extending skate.js. We go down, we can see that we've automatically got some stuff in here that's going to loop in the properties, so we can there are some assumptions you have to make in developing this way at the moment, but effectively these properties are going to be made available to your object at skateonby.properties. So in this case, I'm going to wire these in, and this just says, hey, it's for skate to be happy, and then it's defined in its props callback, and then down here we wire into hacks, and then we call custom element definition. It has also created on the fly a index.html, which is just going to have skate on by and has one word from whatever the thing is in it, so that we can start doing some local development. Oh, Learn is still running in the background. That's a step I really need to invest in still. It's taken our license. It's picked Apache because I said Apache. It's gone down to the correct line, and it's written copyright 2018 Penn State University. It has gone into this gulp file, and this gulp file is also generated on demand. A lot of it is referenced from inside the on-demand generated package.json, and so in the package.json we can see we have this little wcfactory area that's going to help this keep working. We've got the version just for record keeping purposes at the moment, custom element class that's in use, the class name of this element, the element name of this element, it's kind of redundant, and then we've got the 4 different versions that will get kicked out by this when we're doing local development. All right, that errors sometimes in Lerna, so let's go into cd elements and skate on by, and we're going to do npm install. So now I've got my standalone element. This can be treated like, I just skipped a whole ton of work in getting all of this together, which is what happened. So now you can see it's also automated scripts, which after I do install, you'll see it has a built-in build script that will work across every one of these. It has a built-in dev script. It has a built-in serving capability, so you can do local development. It has all the dependencies from the original lit thing in place, and it said 3 because I put 3 dependencies in the original. It's also got the dev dependencies, which at the moment are normalized across every project. It's going to look a little weird, but it has a polymer.json. And the reason is that Polymer's tooling is what this is for. This is just the tooling definition. So the build routine, because Polymer, they overuse the name too much, but Polymer can just compile any web component through their build tooling. And so that's what that's leveraging. This is a working definition that will work across every browser target currently and give you the different versions you would need to do that. In the README, it's also started to engineer some of this. I honestly haven't cleaned this up since forking it from the Red Hat crew. Rollup, this calls a global rollup that they wrote to get you a UMD version. And then, so we've got install, and now I'm going to do npm run dev. Okay. npm run dev is going to open the folder in question that I'm going to be working on, and then it's going to fire open a server. And then I'm going to inspect and do console, and we'll see there is one issue with the hacks wiring, and I knew that would come up. So you can see it actually fixing itself. So let's go, and then we'll take this .js file, and we'll take out the hacks portion of this, because I'm in a chicken and egg scenario where I have to publish it to npm, but I don't have it yet. In the background, that dev command is watching, and notice that that changed. And now the error goes away, and there's my automated data binding. Data binding example right out of the box. So if I want to go in here now, there's my skate on by .properties. Let's say I want to change the default value of that. This is the reason that we abstracted this. Things and stuff. Cows, let's make that 100 cows. Everybody loves cows. Let's go into our HTML and hey dude, you've got like 100 cows is what you would expect it to say. Let's actually move the slot down, and so now the contents that go into the little demo space will show up after it. And then we're going to go to our index.html, skate on by. I'm actually going to give the title Jeff Jimerson. It's a silly name. Okay. Oh, wow. Did this all just work without a hiccup? Because I haven't recorded a video in a while. All right, so that file is not getting watched. The other ones are. So I'll save that file and it'll notice. And there we go. We've got like 100 cows. We've got things and stuff in there. Even though Jeff Jimerson is in there ahead of time, that's something I need to rectify in the way in which I'm setting up the skate element, I believe. So yeah, that's pretty nuts already. What else can we show? All right, let's stop deb. You go, hey, it's time to build this thing. npm run build. Okay, it's going to run build and hopefully work. I haven't actually built a skate element in a while. And by work, I mean that last step. That's always the one that catches me. And it worked. Oh my God. Okay, so that means that I have a skate element, and you can see it in this build directory. Is a little weird. So it taps Polymer and does some other things so that we have these 3 different versions with everything as a dependency tree compiled. So if you wanted to take this ES5 directory, you could like copy and paste it or move it over to a production environment, and it should just work. Same with the other 3. So I've been using surge.sh, which we have a little surge ignore in here just to serve things up quickly for examples. So there's skate as an AMD module. I can't verify that because I just run the commands that claim that that's what they output. So if any of these are wrong, please let me know. ES5 implementation, and there is with no compiling, just pointing to the right places. So this, the reason why we're going through all of this is this file right here will work natively in Firefox come October 23rd. And that is a huge deal because it means without a polyfill, without needing to even have all these build steps that I just, this is like 3 weeks worth of pain to get this stuff in place for this little demo. Without any of that, this file will work natively in every browser target not named Edge and IE11. And if you want to go on the wild side a bit as far as ES6 support, because towards the edges, Edge starts to drop off a little bit, this will actually work without a build step, just a polyfill in Edge. So that puts you down to IE11 and legacy browsers that you have to jump through any hoops for, which is pretty absurd. So then it's also automatically generated a story file. Even though the storybook integration isn't fully working, it's automatically generated this storybook file with the types built off of the properties that were put in the first place. And so then it's creating knobs in the storybook. I can't show that because that part doesn't work currently. And then you can see skate on by, title cows, and it's data binded them correctly based on the way Storybook does it. Because we want to automate all the things, even those things. So then the last one is UMD. And so there, this is supposedly as a universal definition. So then it's also done some stuff with test. I haven't actually started to get into testing routine, but it's also automated references to these. It's automated, putting in the different properties from before. It's started to put in place, you see I have it commented out, some of the test fixtures based on some ones that I've seen in Polymer before that should work anywhere. So yeah, that's Skate, but it's not just Skate, because if you just learned how to do that, now every one of these libraries is going to give you an identical way of operating with it. So we can go slim.js, and why not? I mean, it's important to just support anything because it's so stinking easy now, and I can just hammer through these because there we go. All right, now we're building a Slim element. All right, and then the Slim element gets kicked out the door. And the gorgeous thing for your development team, if you stick with what the vision of what we're going for is here, is that it won't matter which way you build elements as far as the underlying class structure, so long as you're adopting a tooling approach that allows all of it to work the same way. And so there's that, can we slim.js? And so it's starting to set itself up. I know where the story file is. I know where the source files are. I know what the .js is generally going to look like. I know what it's going to flow like. I know, it's doing the same types of wiring. I know that it's going to have the same boilerplate HTML, except it's going to have the correct data binding for Slim. This is even just at the moment, a really good training tool to just get a glimpse into what the differences are between all of these. So there's still a lot of work to be done. We're always open to contributions and ideas and taking this a step further. But if you want to read our full vision statement or help expound upon things that would be great to have, please feel free to reach out either in the web component factory repo or the original Relevance and relevant generator or generator relevant repos, because there's a lot of synergy going on between them right now. And if you have any questions, I'm BTO Pro on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in.